Hello. Usual opener. I can't tell someone how to go from self to being. All I am doing here, I'm only speaking from my own experience from being, and let that stand as the example of itself. I am not saying anything for anyone else at all. Just me. So anybody that wants to twist any of that into that kind of way, the intentions are never there, even if it comes out that way. But again, if the intention isn't there, except to express myself, then anything taken, anybody distorting that in their own way, it's their own bullcrap. Not mine. All right. The last few opening with the topic was needed. Anymore, I'm waiting until the end to say what the specific topic is. Basically, what singularly I am talking about. But it is relevant right now, which is why I chose this topic. And forgive the fan, any fan. I got box fans. It's too hot, and the kids are upstairs, the air conditioning, quietly, so I got some privacy because it's been 3 days. And forgive me if I'm a little rusty. It's not been a pleasant few days at all. Which hence the topic. Give me a moment. It's hot. I just went upstairs. I was trying to do this, and they were just being too loud. It's like you can't just sit and watch a video for like an hour. Oh. All right. Sorry, Snuggles. And it's been 3 days, so that momentum that was going just went and just fell flat on its face. Let's just begin. Like I said, this past 3 days have been very disruptive, not pleasant. So I don't know how this is going to come out. I am just simply speaking from the relevant state that I've been in, or state of influenced state, however you want to put it. Even though internally, still calm as could be. All right, just 10 inquiries, 10 questions on one subject. What kinds, you know what? One moment. Before I forget. Allergy medicine. Felt the initial crackle in my throat, and I'm like, nope. All right. I don't care if this is nonsense. Again, I am not performing jack squat. I don't care. I'm not playing the nonsense. I'm hitting record. I'm speaking, expressing from being, expressing myself, and that's it. My own experiences, my own understanding, my own. not outsourcing myself and then quoting other people endlessly, or editing this endlessly to fit a certain mold or performance. It's hot. And yeah, I'm not sitting back all straight, talk like that. I'm just elbows around my knees, and I'm just at ease, just casual. All right, one, what kinds of things cause people to suffer the most? Again, you know what? Again, let me rephrase that. Because again, I'm not talking about others. What kinds of things causes me, my being, to suffer? Period. Right, question mark. I'm not going to put the most, but what kinds of things cause my being to suffer? Disruption of harmony and congruence. Again, like, okay, simple example. Person walks up and kicks you in the shin, just to make it simple. First, it's a stranger, startled, or just maybe just somebody that doesn't matter to you, or just as the example, somebody that doesn't matter to you at all. Or, you know what, me. Somebody that doesn't matter to me at all just walks up and kicks me in the shin. There will be a physical reaction to that. But that's it. What the hell? Just somebody that matters to you walks up to you and kicks you in the shin with an attitude. Which is going to be more disruptive? Which is going to influence what's going to influence me more? Somebody I don't know or couldn't give two craps about, not to downplay it, just not everybody holds the most. Not everybody is carried in the innermost place. Never mind. There I go explaining more again. See, like I said, I'm rusty. It hasn't been a good past few days. I mean, married to a cheating narcissist. Yeah, I'm talking like this, and that's what I'm married to. It hasn't been fun. And that's the state of the topic of discussion. But yeah, some people, regular Joe walks up, kicks me in the shin. It's physical reaction. What the F, man? Just no heat there. Again, somebody that matters to me walks up and does it. There's going to be that physical reaction, but there's also that inner disruption. That's the best way I could describe it. It's just a disruption internally. It shocks outward. It influences from being outward. Because again, if they didn't matter, there'd be no disruption. Just physicality, just self-disruptive. Get kicked in the shin, and it's just the physical pain and the confusion, or just nonsense. Whereas, again, somebody that matters to you gets mad or something like that, kicks your shin, you're going to be me, again, me, not you. There's going to be a whole slew of things, more than my freaking mouth can speak the words. all questioning, like, why, just deeper than overthinking. Overthinking just sits there, analyzes it intellectually. I'm at doing that, but internally. Or I'm just attaching what to what, why this happened, why could have happened, what they upset about, like just instantly. It's just instant disruption and analyzing the situation as I'm being influenced by it. Whereas, regular Joe, it's like, quite frankly, even if you broke your shit, it would be physically disruptive, but it really wouldn't be as internally as being disruptive. Great. That fan's gonna tickle my nose. Oh. So, what kinds of things cause me to suffer the most? Just disruption from those who matter most. That is the prime number one thing that disrupts my being. And I like I just mentioned before, and that's only mentioning one person, but even my household is extremely disruptive to my being. Even my own household. I'm not talking crap on them. It is what it is. And that would be, like what causes me to suffer and then add the most. Which is exactly why these past 3 days have been bad. All right, well, next one. Before I start rambling and end up answering all the questions before I even read them. I haven't read these yet either. This is, I pick a topic, generate freaking inquiries and questions on them, and then speak for myself. Except simple, but yeah, that part is simple, but I'm not speaking from the layer of self, which is the whole point. Not just, random questions on specific or deeper topics. 2, why do some painful experiences stay with me longer than others? Again, just like the last question, it depends on how much the person matters to me. If I value them internally, and that is probably one of my biggest flaws. I'm not boasting myself, but living from within, I have majority of my effort all my life has been internal. So I can't even fully express how much people that matter most to me matter to me. Because there's no words for it internally. That's just, I mean, you could say they matter the most, but it just, and then it gets to be a slippery slope, because then they matter the most to me, but again, like I made that reference earlier towards somebody. What are you supposed to do with that? How do you show somebody they matter the most to you when, again, cheating narcissist. In that extreme, how do you show that? Because everything that was is betrayed, turned out nothing but ash. Not quite, because I'm not a self-centered person. I'm a being-centered person. As in, it's been a pattern for a while. And I think of others more than myself, before myself, really. Because if there was, yeah, I'm not, I'm getting a little too personal. Well, I don't want to, like, that's a little too, that's in the area of nobody's business. Other people, little people of importance involved. Yep. Yeah, why do they painfully... Why do some painful experiences stay with us longer than others? What makes... Now, I'm just internally analyzing. What makes them last long for me? Other than being able, just saying they matter to me or matter most. The more the person matters, the deeper the wound of their doing goes. And the longer it lasts, the longer you have to get past the delusion of projection, the disruption of that person. Basically, they matter most, so you don't want to believe they are capable of such negative things. And then they are, and then for me, every bit of expression and presentation that person gave is literally now in question. Like, that's why just people treat the extreme betrayals like it's a freaking, like it's a toy, man. Sick people. The disruption caused on others for such worthless freaking things. Such worthlessness. To just disturb and torment somebody's very being for such worthlessness. It's like, how do you logify that? Or how do you make that even logical? It's like, I don't know. It's beyond me why people do the things they do. To outsource pleasures of self over your own family, your own children, your own spouse. It used to be normal for people to talk, it'd always be the guy, but now it's like neither side is right. It's all wrong because you're disrupting and causing others suffering, disruption, and pain. For what? Oh, little physical pleasure or little ego feeding or identity feeding or oh, this person makes me feel this way or that way. Well, then you should have never got married. You should never had kids. You should have stayed a single person. I'll refrain from making a little jive comment there. That's what the hesitation was. I literally paused right before I was thinking, like, I had this insult, and I'm like, nah. See, just like that, I'm sitting there just thinking, and it's just like there, and I'm just like, it's so much is so quick internally. Even just like that, I'm just just right in the middle of talking, and then there it is. Nope, I can't see that. All right. I'm just thinking. 3. Well, 2. Why do some people experience stay with us longer than others? Stay with me longer. It depends on how big the disruption is, like that one, and how much they matter. Again, cheating narcissistic spouse. The other half is supposed to matter equally to you, collective of the family. That's 2 people going against all this together. Just three. Why do people sometimes? Wait, I'll just read this out loud, because again, I'm not reading these before I start this, so I'm just going to reframe it from others to me, because I'm only talking about me here. 3. Why do people sometimes suffer even when nothing is physically wrong? Why do I sometimes suffer even when nothing is physically wrong? Why? How is that even a question? Like, that always disturbs me. Like, every little thing, and like the level of awareness and understanding, it's honestly scary at times. It really is. Why do people sometimes suffer even when nothing is physically wrong? Like, to not see, that's disturbing to me, because I began internally watching, analyzing, paying attention to even the very emotional reactions to my environment and everything going on. Even my own internalizing, making my own suffering or anything else, or taking things too deep or whatnot, and it's like, so asking about suffering when nothing is physically wrong, it's like, there is more suffering not regarding the physicality than even the physicality can compare to. There is no amount of physical suffering, even ego, identity, or your physical self, than suffering at the layer of being, your internal you. Suffering there is like I said, in all of fiction, all descriptions, hell is such a tiny, tiny word compared to it. All the imagination, all the fiction out there, the suffering in being makes hell look like a playground, sound like a playground. I'm speaking on me. I'm not boasting. I'm just speaking. You disagree? I don't give a shit. You're not me. You didn't go through what I did. You didn't experience everything my way, how I did, or around the people I was and everything else. My own life is my own singularity. It's nobody else's. Nobody else has any say over me, my being, my existence. Just like I can't speak for anyone out there, which is why I stopped trying. I stopped trying to explain it for others in a way that, endlessly hoping, I hope people understand this, I hope people understand that, and it's like, you know what? No more. I'm just going to speak as myself, best I can, unrehearsed, not directing it outward, like I keep fixing the questions. Like, instead of making it about others, I'm the one under the microscope here. Just me. Just me and everything else's influence on me in whatever way it has. Even my own influence on myself. Why do I sometimes suffer even when nothing is physically wrong? Again, that is just so weird to me. It's like suffering isn't only physical related. Like, I'm even talking emotions. That is like, that's not like, I'm here. Emotions are like up here. Okay? Like, I don't run off of emotions. Emotions aren't primary. They're influenced from being. Sometimes you have no choice, sometimes you do. Actually, one advice. Keep the suffering of self out of your being. Meaning, if you are emotionally disrupted, I'm just talking from myself here real quick. Being emotionally disrupted, disturbed, etc., that doesn't have to go any deeper than that. You can be physically depressed, emotionally depressed, in the dumps, but your being doesn't have to be. The state of you here doesn't have to be. I'm not talking about emotions, heart, and all that. I'm talking essence, your being within. You don't have to let it influence that. That causes that. Ooh. That is where I actually never articulated. I had never even wrote that down yet. To keep, that is basically what I'm doing in a way. And just differentiating and understanding between my being and myself. My being and myself. Or rather, here, myself. Because the self thinks with your brain. And your being, which is deeper, they cannot entangle it to come from your physicality. I don't know where it comes from, other than within. Not within in a... I'm not even going to go there. But to analyze the difference between, I'm talking about like analytic purposes, looking and analyzing at self and being as if they're two things. And I never looked at why is my being not very, like literally hardly disturbed at all since last January? That's my, just my own, I don't know, it's just something happened to me. Series of events. And just, I can't explain it, but since then, I've not really even had one single anxiety attack from that level of being in their outward. Because when your being is disrupted and suffering, and that goes out through your emotions. Imagine being in a state of anxiety and an anxiety attack for over 10 years straight, practically. Like I said, before that event, I was in such a state that practically never ended for, I honestly don't know, a long time. I'm just going back through my life real quick. Because I mean, there was so many, it was like a smorgasbord, one after another, of suffering. It's like I left my job after 7 years back in 2012. That was beginning of the most disruptive period. Which I actually already went over in my YouTube videos of just explaining my life, just like I do here, just like I'm doing like this. I sat down 8 years ago and just went over my life like this. 8 years ago. I mean, that's a trip. Well, having it analyzed is a trip. I've never watched even one of them back yet, and I made 13 or 14 videos about 8 years ago. Just like I'm doing here, just hit record and just be me, just express me, and I went over my whole life from childhood on. That was when I was still ignorant, thinking and falsely believing everybody was as internally being and aware and living from there as I was. Which again only increase the suffering, because then you think everybody's aware of what they're doing. And when the people around you are primarily not dysfunctional, disruptive, yeah, a lot of suffering. But anxiety. Basically, my mentally disabled sister getting cancer, breast cancer, stage 4. 20% chance to live or survive. Got through that, went 5 years. Then my mother was diagnosed with Huntington's disease, dementia. So I had to leave the job I was at for 7 years, take care of them. My sister went in the hospital. My mom's mind went to crap. I got the whole house dumped on me and all that suffering and freaking. And then from there, sister passed away a week before my son was born. You know what? I got too far off track. I was just explaining real quick, like just summarizing like 10 or 15 years of like a literal nonstop anxiety attack. It was just one after another, one thing, then another thing, then another thing. It just wouldn't stop. My sister, my mom, the house, cleaning that up. We're just listening. Even now, I'm still partially listening. Just disruption. My kids so they don't misbehave or get hurt or something, horsing around or anything. Kid could just trip, climb out of bed. But I know people sometimes suffer when nothing is physically wrong. It's just a deeper disruption. I like how they put it. You're like you'll see in entertainment. So somebody's crying and they'll say they don't know what's wrong with them. That level of lack of awareness. I'm just stating the obvious. My example I made, so I'm stating on it. It's disturbing to me. It really is. It's like I said, 4 decades thinking everybody was as aware, and then you suddenly learn there's people out there that aren't even internally aware at all. Some. I'm not getting into statistics and all that crap. It's disturbing. Like, and again, another reason for sharing, because it's like, well, if a lot of people are self-oriented, well, then hearing somebody speak from being is valuable. That's all. And that's all I'm saying on that. I'm not boasting myself or nothing, just my orientation is valuable because that's been the primary work I've done all my life without trying to, just trying to survive. No, not even trying to survive. I've been as internally down as they go. All right. 4, can suffering exist even when life looks fine from the outside? Do I have to answer that? Do I really have to answer that? That's... Yeah. Again, that's scary as shit. It really is. Oh my God. But again, I just got a confirmation last night from my freaking own wife. Even through all the nonsense, she could just fall asleep. Betray somebody, betray your whole family and everything the way that, and then just sleep right in the middle of it, and then just when you're doing it, just sleep soundly next to the person you're betraying, the victim, your victim, basically. No, I'm not claiming that identity or none of that crap. Something bad is done to somebody, there is a perpetrator and there is a victim. Period. It's not identity nonsense. Oh, I'm playing victim. No. You got a cheating, narcissistic wife. What comes from having that when you're the way I am? Suffering. I didn't bring it on myself, so I'm a victim. It was given to me. I didn't want it. All I want is a nice, happy, normal harmony of a home. Home. Where disruption is supposed to be the least or come from natural events. Car breaks down, appliances break, normal. Not turn your own home environment into a cesspool. It doesn't make any sense to me. But can suffering exist even when life looks fine from the outside? And again, my wife confirmed it last night because she just falls asleep like that. And I barked at her last night from it. I said, it must be nice to do the things you've done and be able to just fall right asleep. And I'm like, here I've been laying there at night for hours, more than not, just not crying like a freaking baby, crying like a tormented being that just wants to cease, that knows only suffering. I'm talking prior to a year and a half ago, when suffering was primary. Was it 13, yeah, unlucky 13 years now. Been married for now. That's funny. She even scoffs at that. I'm not talking trash. I'm making fun. I'm making it funny. No, I'm not. No, I'm gonna leave that one alone. But I'd tell her, like at night, I'd be laying there right next to her, just facing the wall, and I'd be just melting away, just suffering inside, and it would just be just coming outward, and the pillow would be soaked, my face, just crying, just physically holding myself together, not to be practically convulsing like a child for the amount of internal suffering that was constant for the primary amount of time I've been married. And then when I told her that, she scoffed at me. Like, oh, you crying? Like, I don't. I'm married to my literal polar opposite. Literally. That's. I don't know. I It's like, oh no, a grown man crying and breaking down. Oh, you're so weak. If only I could just pull it out and hand it to somebody. For decades of primarily from being, thinking everybody else was too, in negative environments primarily, and being, you know what, never mind. There's no comparison between suffering from being and the nonsense people put on the layer of self when the emotions do break through. Oh, it's a grown man, he's being emotional, what a big baby. You know, there's a lot of shadow talk lately about your shadow. I would jump out in front of danger to save innocence, even if I'm ignorant of the person. And yet, during all my suffering, there is no limit that there is no limit that I did not internalize towards the disruptors and myself. The ones who cause suffering, disruption, and all that. It's like that whole bravado crap is such nonsense. But yeah, can suffering exist when life looks fine from the outside? So apparently for 13 years my wife has never seen me really break down, even right next to her in bed, which used to happen more days than it didn't. Disruption. So, obviously, can suffering exist when life looks fine from the outside? Because I hid the worst, I guess, very well. And yet, my whole life fell apart, so I don't know how it wasn't obvious. It cost me my postal job, everything at home years ago. And it's like, I don't know how nobody's seen anything I was going through. I mean, my whole life was getting disrupted, every part of it, because of me and because of, again, married to somebody that's the polar opposite of me, not in a good way. And then your kid climbing out windows, putting himself in harm's way, then being diagnosed with autism, and basically your kid has no capacity for keeping himself safe at a very young age, like completely ignorant of self-safety. So that's why I'm literally always aware of this, my environment, because my kid's safety depends on it. So the second I hear something, like you see before, I stopped and my attention drew to the stairwell where the sound will travel from the room above me, down the hall, down the stairs, and then over to my ear. It's like I hear something, it's just like, just reflex. Because again, when they were younger, mostly my oldest boy, he needed constant, present observation. Like he couldn't be upstairs by himself or with his brothers unsupervised. Now he could to a point. He ain't that bad. He just doesn't think before he does stupid things. But it's like they're getting disruptive. Yeah, so, I don't know how. I mean, my whole life has fallen apart, and nobody ever asked me, how am I doing? Like me. There was always, how was home, everything okay? Just nobody ever asked, and ever. But again, if everybody is playing from this, the level of self, and somebody's suffering from the level of being, it's like, yeah, I can understand the ignorance now. Because everybody's like, the one, or never mind, it's just, a lot of people aren't looking within or within another person. They're always just generally superficial, caring about what you look, what you dress, how you speak, how you act, all this nonsense. Like, oh, is he overweight? Is he skinny? Is he this? Is he that? And yet none of that define who a person is. Doesn't matter if they have one leg, no legs, one finger, no fingers, one head or two heads. That doesn't define who a person is. Yes, all right, you know what? I'm moving on. This has already been 52 minutes. Like I said, that's why this is relevant, because it's relevant to the situation I'm in. 5, what makes suffering feel heavier at certain times in life? Don't start tickling my nose. Good thing I took that allergy medicine, because I already feel my throat getting dry and cracking. That noise, it itches your throat, but it makes it itch more. So if I even start doing it, it becomes a habit, and then I do it without even thinking about it, and it gets more annoying because I keep doing it because it works against itself and for itself. So I just simply don't do it. As soon as I notice I do it, I stop. Like, don't. Alright, I gotta pause for a moment. They're getting disruptive. Just unpausing this for a second. I honestly do not know how long this will stay paused for before it closes, and then I have to start a whole nother video, and I don't want to do that. So, repausing for a moment. Forgive me for that. Alright. 5, what makes suffering feel heavier at certain times in life? It depends on how much they matter, and I'm not talking about personal choice. I'm sorry, I didn't point that out for me. What is it? What makes suffering feel heavier at certain times in my life? Things that matter. No, because my kids matter, but they're more disruptive than harmony. And I don't mean that in a joking way. I mean that in a bad way, but not holding it against them. Again, disabilities. But it's like, them mattering isn't That's a puzzle. That's another pretzel. They're disruptive of my being. Because of their disruption, again, my kid insults me. He insults me more in a day than I've ever said to my own parents in my entire life. Yeah. Like, I'm basically, no, never mind. It's like, that is so weird though, because it's like, I was going to say those that matter most are more along the lines of those that are congruent with my being, harmony, aligned, etc. No, I can see because they're supposed to, but then disruption's introduced. Again, like my children, it doesn't matter how they are. They're my children. They matter more than me, to me. There's the harmony because they're my children, even though they bring disruption. I don't know how to put that. What makes it feel heavier at certain times in life? Because it's when it matters more. When no, wait, I'm sorry. I was literally just trying to outsource other examples that is speaking for myself. See, I'm rusty. I keep doing that. What makes suffering feel heavier at certain times in my life? Again, when it mattered and it didn't happen, or when it mattered and there was disruption or delay or loss. It's situational. It really is. Again, a loss of a loved one. It's like everybody knows that one. And even if you're not aware, loss of a loved one, that disrupts your being, even if you're not aware of it. That's why people, well, at least from my point of view, that's why people have no control over their physical emotions in those kind of situations, because their being is being overloaded, and it is overriding and overloading their physical emotions, their physical state. Even if they're not aware of, they're only aware of their state they're in, like their emotional disrupted state. 6, why do some people grow through suffering while others become trapped by it? No. Again, incorrectly asked. See, it's like even the generated questions aren't correct, so I got to fix those on the fly too. So this is all me. I'm not, even the questions generated aren't right, so I'm not outsourcing anything. Nothing at all now. Why did I, no, why was I trapped by suffering? Because that's all I ever had. That was always the primary environment that I didn't influence, but also influence. I wasn't innocent either. It's like when your environment is primarily negative and suffering, that's what you're going to be tuned to. Just like if you grow up in a happy home, you're going to be naturally a more positive person. For 40 freaking years, I was negative, but not towards good people. Like all the suffering, I just redirected it towards the people that were doing it, and sadly, ignorantly, thinking everybody was doing it deliberately. Like somebody cut you off in traffic, you think not everybody always does it on purpose. But imagining thinking everybody does do it on purpose. Imagine how the hate and the disruption from that. It's like that's how it was. Everything was deliberate because I thought everybody was internally aware. And that's how I became trapped by it, because that's all I seen. That was it. In my being, I still seen, beauty in things and analyzing and understanding and, just presence and, nature, stuff like that. And just like, say observing a family enjoying themselves, just to observe that would light me up internally, even in suffering. But suffering and negativity was the primary function of me. Even everything I did and said was regards to the negativity I was forced to carry from my environments, the people around me, as well as myself. I am both innocent and guilty. So is everybody else, because obviously everybody wasn't aware. But when I'm aware, how could I be not aware then? It's like if somebody says something insulting and say you're a deeper person, you could read into that deeper. Does that make you wrong because the other person's ignorant and unaware of it? No. Oh, you're thinking too deep. That makes you wrong. It's like, no. If somebody's being superficial and that's all they're aware of, and there is entanglement into deeper understanding, somebody's ignorance and unawareness doesn't deny it. It doesn't just make it go poof, it didn't exist. Again, somebody that matters to you kicks you in the shin. They're justified from their point of view. Does that mean it's not going to disrupt you and hurt you? Just because you could take it deeper? Doesn't sound very logical to me. So again, you're trapped by it. Grow through suffering. That happened by default. I wasn't trying to grow. I was just trying to understand, dissect, analyze, get through it, understand what the heck, why is this happening? How is this happening? How could I fix this? What's better than this? What's better? It's like, that's how you grow. You question it all. You analyze it all. You don't sit and be trapped by it. If you're going to be trapped, at least analyze it too, so you grow from it. That way you won't always be trapped. 7, what happens when suffering is ignored, avoided, or buried? For me, again, so I keep trying to just stay with. Well, okay, first of all, wait, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, ignored or avoided. What happens when suffering is ignored, avoided? No, I've ignored it. What happens when suffering is ignored or avoided? I'll stop on those two for me, for just to answer. or express on. Momentary delusional ignorance. To put it out of your mind is sometimes justifiable if it's not present. If it's present and it's ignored and avoided, it'll be superficial enjoyment, and then you'll just have to deal with it again or greater again. Greater than initially was. Buried. I mean, it depends on what you. I mean, buried what? Skeletons in the closet? I don't have it. I don't have a closet. I don't hide anything from my being. I can't. I've ignored and avoided, and then, like I just said, it always comes back, and it's always worse. Putting things off, it always. I mean, it's different if it's, something that can be put off, but suffering, no. Just deal with it. Just deal with it. Do what you can. Do all you can about it, and let that be enough for the moment you're in. Me. It's like if there's nothing, if there's nothing, like there's one thing I can't do anything about right now, and it causes me suffering. So it's not really ignored or avoided or even buried. I just, in the moment, is it relevant? No. Is it presently in my face being externally disruptive? No. Am I internalizing it all right now, making myself be disrupted? Yes. So it's not really, don't ignore or avoid it, just prioritize it correctly. If it's not something that's present now that needs attention, don't make yourself suffer over it. Don't sit there and stew in it in a negative way. If you want to stew in it, understand it. Understand why. Can suffering reveal things about ourselves we otherwise would never notice? Again, I'm not talking about others. Can suffering reveal things about myself I otherwise would never notice? I can't see. Again, suffering has been like right here, right in my face my whole life. I'm not whining about it. It is what it is. Is it partially my fault as well? Yeah, because I'm a very deep person. To just put it generally, again, from being, that's deeper reference. It's like, did every single insult that everybody has ever given to me from childhood on been as deep as I took it? No. Everybody didn't always mean literally that, even the childhood nasty bullying and name calling and bull crap kids do all the way through elementary school through high school. And I did it again. That throat itch. It's like, neither are wrong though. But that was always present, so like I said again, suffering was the primary presence. The primary thing that was constant in my life. And it influenced my being. Because every part of me was just suffering. It was just consumed by it. Negativity was everything. I mean, look at the world, for Christ's sake. I grew up in a poor home, a broken home, and I was the last unwanted child. I was a surprise baby. Like, my parents already had a boy and a girl. And here I come randomly 5 years after my brother. They've already done every childhood enjoyment with their own kids. They've already done it all. So guess what I got? None of it. Like, okay, one thing. One example, you know what, I'm not even going to go there because that's, you could get the point, the picture. You know, you have a kid and after you don't want no more, and I think my parents were already at ends with each other in my early childhood. Because I'm thinking back now, I don't really ever remember them being. I don't ever remember them really acting like a couple would. And then at like 12 years old, they got divorced and my dad moved out. And my parents always lived, you know what? So again, I mean, suffering always present. Suffering, if you analyze, pay attention, and understand, it reveals the opposite. If you understand the worst of something, you already understand the best of something. Because how could you understand what is the worst if you don't already know the best? You get it? Flip the coin. Just invert it. It's like, yeah, I grew up in a broken home, and yeah, I'm living in a broken home now, like I mentioned earlier. Because of that, I already know what a non-broken home is, and I've never had it. How do I know? Because I know the broken one. What do you do with that? Turn it around. Invert it. Opposite it. Flip it over like a coin. You can't know what's bad if you don't have any idea what's good. Right, wrong, bad, good, however you want to put it. How do you even know what's bad if you don't know what the opposite is? How do you understand the loss of $100 if you've never had $100? But yet, if you have $100 and you lose $100, you know the value of that $100 suddenly. See what I'm talking about? The loss, the suffering, the only way. There's a lot more to it than that. Because you also got, congruence and what it aligns with you and whatnot and harmonizes. How much influence negativity and suffering has to make it be disruptive to you. Because again, like solitude for me is peaceful. I could live alone in a cabin in the middle of nature for years and just enjoy it. whereas other people would be suffering in that. No, I don't know if that was a good analogy or not, but whatever. Again, reveal things of ourselves we otherwise never notice. Again, see, this is since 3 years old. Internally, it has not changed one single bit. My being has not changed, only grown. I am still the same singular individual existence that I was even back then. Internal happenings and basically me internally. What nobody else could see, hear, or touch, or what nobody could ever observe internally unless I bring it out and express it like I am here. That has been primary. That place within has been me, primary, unchanged since 3 years old, and no, not aware 24/7 at 3 years old. That is medically impossible. I mentioned 3 years. That's the moment of awareness, like coming online. Suddenly I'm inside looking out, what the F is going on? What is all this? All that. So it's like suffering and disruption was literally the very thing that sparked me online. If you want me to put it in a simple way like that. My awareness and just the awareness of myself, my own individual existence, singular existence, that is me. Intangibly, as and within a physical body. It's the same as it was when I was 3 years old, in that first moment. And that's what I mean. Like it was suffering then. That's what brought it on. And so it's like reveal things. Like that's been my teacher, but it's always been present. I've had enough of that crap. That's my whole problem now. After last year, it's like I'm done. I've had enough. So my house is so dysfunctional. Everybody wants to continue in the freaking disruption and suffering and chaos, and I'm just like, no, I've had enough of that. You either improve or it's like nobody has to live like this. I went through that long enough. I'm done with suffering. If it's not a natural occurrence, shove it right up your frickin' rear. Because I don't want it. It's not worth it. It's no disruption of being is worth it. Unless it's your choice. But somebody else's chaos? No. 9. Is suffering only pain, or can it also come through conflict, misalignment, or disconnection? Are you kidding me? Again, making the suffering about only physicality or emotional. Emotional is still physicality. That is just God. That disturbs me. Like that's scary. It really is. From my point of view, that's scary for there are people to be out there ignorant of their being, and where I have been there primarily my whole life. It's again, that's a point of view I cannot put my butt in, because I can't take my being and just as if it never was and look at it from a complete self point of view. My being has always remained, always been present, always been primary. That's been the primary way I've not always expressed outward or, physically been, but internally that has been primary and first my whole entire life. So making that not present to even analyze a point of view is impossible because it's not ever been not there. It's like trying to tell me to pretend act like I don't have literally to completely understand what it's like not to have an arm. Well, guess what? I can't. I could pretend all I want, but again, that is delusion. Delusion. I cannot pretend or completely immerse myself in the understanding of a point of view of something I cannot just, it won't come off. So, sorry to disappoint. But again, if I was speaking out of ego, I'd be claiming everything. I know all. Yeah, I already know this. Hogwash. So, is suffering only pain, or can it also come through conflict, misalignment? Okay, now that I'm reading that again, I should have read that twice or three times, or as many times as I had to understand it. Yeah, I forget about I read that wrong. Is suffering only pain? Oh yeah, yes and no. It's like asking, is it only pain? I'm literally on the last two questions. Could you all be quiet up there, please? Yeah, an hour and a half. It's a long-ass video. And I'm still rusty. I'm still disrupted after 3 days. I would have had at least 8 more videos, at least an hour long each. I already got 7 topics lined up with questions I just have there to go on. Basically, pick a certain. Basically, go on the topic based on my current situation, current state of being, too. Again, past 3 days have been disruptive and suffering. So, what's the topic? I'll get there. 9 is is suffering only pain, or can it also come through conflict, misalignment, or disconnection? Yes. It's not only physical. I don't know what. See, that's disturbing if somebody only think it'd be physical. Again, somebody matters most. Even if they say something bad to you, and even if it emotionally stings, they go. There's a point where it goes off. Well, for others, there's a point. There's a threshold of influence. So, I mean, you step over the line, somebody's just going to react, and that's usually the line it passes from the self to the being, or the ego explodes and they react that way. I guess most of the time for people, it's usually ego and identity. Probably. I don't care. Suffering only pain. You know what? I'll answer that by moving on to 10. Because 10... Actually, this is backwards for once. Usually the previous questions answer the final one, which is the topic, subject, etc. And except in this case, the last one answers the previous question. Is suffering only pain, or can it come through? Is suffering only pain? I'll stop it there. Okay. 10. What is suffering? For me, rather, from being related. It's disruption. What doesn't align or harmonize with that which is within. That is suffering. As far as like external suffering. Again, me and my wife, polar opposites, and not in a good way. Okay, real events, real observation, real patterns, real constants. Cheating narcissist. What would that give me internally? Disruption, chaos, suffering. Well, disruption is just like the singular word. Suffering comes from disruption. Negative, just the influence causes a disruption of being. That causes suffering. As far as me goes, that is suffering for me. What isn't incongruent, not even what isn't incongruent with my being, which harmonizes and aligns, so etc., but even neutral things are fine. I don't need to align with everything. Everything doesn't need to be completely authentic. It just doesn't have to be disruptive. You don't have to, again, it's just like a math problem. Okay? Like I said, cheating. One person is getting enjoyment. There's one good. That's the whole thing it's done for, the enjoyment. Whether it be physical pleasure, ego feeding, identity feeding, all that nonsense. There's one good thing about that equation. That's why they're doing it. And yet, they're betraying themselves because they're with somebody else. Whereas, again, if they ain't good enough for you in your superficial crap, go. Don't do something, just go. What's so hard about that? You don't want to be where you're at, go. Don't do wrong. Just go. So one thing, betray the betrayers betraying themselves since they obviously don't want to be there. So there's a negative. They're betraying their spouse or whoever they're with, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. And that's only between one couple. That's one right for two wrongs. You going to try to justify that with your nonsense, anybody? Good luck. And that's only one good little worthless thing. Ooh, physical pleasure. Ooh, I get attention. Somebody's feeding my ego. Ooh, that is worth more than my own husband and family. What? I mean, that's almost not even a good. That's a delusional good. And then, that's still math. And then you add in how many family members that get tormented and disrupted and their whole lives are torn apart from that. Children. There's 5 influenced. Not even really a positive for 5 negatives. I can go on. dog, dog, cat, cat, turtle. There's 10 negatives for one little bit of worthlessness. How does anybody justify disruption, causing people suffering? That's why, like, mine is just my reaction, my reactiveness. My reactions are the only negative thing left of me. It's my reactions to the negativity being flung at my being. Again, I just explained about spouse. Or, again, I'm sitting here doing my own thing, not bothering anybody. And then, I'm doing my own private stuff, not disturbing anybody, just doing my own thing. And suddenly, I'm disrupted. Kids run up to me and just don't observe whether I'm available or not. Just straight up run over and start yak, give me, I want this. And when I stop and say, I'm busy right now, wait a bit, I get berated and emotionally abused, verbally abused by my own children. And because of their disability. There's nothing I could do about it. I've tried being a prick, I've tried being nice, etc. Nothing works. I forgot where the hell I was even going with that. I completely lost that thread. Let's give it examples for what? I just completely lost it. Well, that's a cool kind of silence. Internal silence. Where I'm sitting here trying to go back to the point I was trying to make, and it's just like, it's just silence. It's like there's nothing, there's not one hint of what the heck I was even just complete brain fart. That's funny. And I'm sitting trying to think of it. It's like just silence. There's like nothing coming up. It's like usually I have to enter into silence, so to speak, just like, just silence myself, just silencing your being is no different than just shutting your freaking mouth. Just like that. Except I shut my mouth up and I shut my being up. But that didn't help me remember what the heck I was going on about. What is suffering? Oh, but yeah. Reaction. See, thank you. I'm not patting myself. I'm just, moving. My reaction. Now you see, that is when I get negative. That's when I yell and stuff like that. When I'm just not bothering anybody, but people want to impose their will onto me. Like, I want this, so you get up and do what I demand right now. And if you don't, I'm going to berate the holy shit out of you. That is my wife. That is 2 of my kids out of 3. So again, the only thing negative left is my reaction. And I've been working on that, but That's probably the biggest disruption, suffering that I'm still working on, as far as how do I put that? As far as causing any suffering. Because again, if people are going to throw that on me, I am going to react for what is being handed to me. It's like, to put it, you hand me something that goes boom in my hand, I'm going to toss it back at you. Okay? You hand me something that's going to hurt, I'm handing it back to you. Unless there's some kind of justification. That's it. Like, if my kids are going to disrupt me and berate me because I'm not getting up and doing what they demand in the moment, I'm going to scream at them eventually. But suffering is just, moving on from that example. Again, I don't yell all the time. It just, the suffering, the disruption accumulates to cause a reaction out of me. That is why I complain about it in my house so much, because everybody's spreading their stink. Nobody's, I try to teach our kids some patience, and instead of any kind of attempt to learn, I get insulted. Yeah, again, disability. But again, you're still getting berated by your own kid. Eventually you're going to start screaming, shut up, go to bed, go upstairs to your room, you're grounded, leave me the fuck alone. Just, what is suffering? For me, it's just disruption of being. The introduction of disruption of being. What is the opposite of that? Harmony of being, congruence, authenticity of being. Not chosen, I'm authentic because I chose to be that way. No, it's not a choice. Your being is what it is. You don't get to choose how your being is. Physicality, you can choose that as you please. Or I can, because that's secondary. I don't operate and live my life based on self. I live it from being. I would just think of the difference between influence of being on physicality and influence of ego and identity. Just a spider web there that's too much, too vague, too confusing right now to think out loud or contemplate out loud. What is suffering for me? The disruption of my being. Again, negativity of any kind, unjustifiably, that's disruption, period. If somebody's negative towards me that has no rhyme or reason to, that is disruptive, because I do not take things from the outside and then filter them maybe inward. Everything goes straight in. This is where internally is how I experience and do it all. Even move my hand, this is secondary. This is my being moving my hands, my arms. It's like, I don't know how else to say it. Nor am I making any claims for anyone else. I'm not making any claims of myself above anyone else, other than the choices in absence or to avoid negativity. You know what? This is almost 2 hours long. Like I said, it's been 3 days. You know what? I needed that, but then I just got brought back down, right back down to reality and the disruption currently in play. I don't know how, probably not very crystal clear on how, what is suffering. Like I've already condensed it down to just my disruption of my being. That is suffering. Again, natural occurrences are, they are that they are when they are, and then they move on. Again, a loss of a family member. I mean, once they're gone, they're gone. As far as moving on from the suffering. Not moving on, but moving on from the suffering it brings, the disruption it brings. That is your choice. That's from being. Me, rather. Because, once they're gone, that's all you're left sitting with is the suffering. And people think that you have to hold on to that. How do you want to remember a person more? Do you want to sit there and be sad every time you think of somebody just because they're not there? Or would you rather remember positive things and feel warmth and harmony from any part of them than just the loss? Again, depends on what you focus on. You want to be negative? You like enjoying suffering at loss? Whatever. Hey, man, that's your choice. Invert the shit. I lost my mother. I lost my sister. I lost a lot, quite a bit. And if not from natural death, then from simply alienating myself away from other family members that were disruptive, were negative for me, for my being, not aligned, were more self-led people, where they judged and valued and only cared about people based on their monetary value, their possessions, their social status, and all that dribble. Yeah, the greatest suffering of all are the games being played. The inversion of value. I'm just gonna say it. I don't want to curse. I'm gonna end this with this. How the F does such dynamics of a human being, internally and externally, how is all of that depth, all of that beauty, complexity, dynamics, all of that of a person be shoved down into the stupid values of such created nonsense? It doesn't matter what you have or how much or how little. Nothing changes who you are. Doesn't matter if more brings it out or less brings it out. Like they say, people become who they are when they get money, and they're usually bad. Whereas I'm a person, you could hand me freaking $100 billion, and the only thing I'm going to think of are two things. One, creating my own environment, and then two, What could I do with it? Not for me, but from me. Not even from me, because again, I don't take no credit. I didn't make myself. But like, what would I do with it to expand a harmonizing environment? That's what I would do with it, a tool. Whereas others, some people it becomes the center of their entire everything. It's I don't know how anybody could. It's ignorance and unawareness are a bitch. 1 hour, 45 minutes of talking. You know what? I apologize. It was 2 hours, and people are having trouble creating content. Gotcha. Stop. I gotta get some water. Not this. After this, because I'm done. What is suffering? What is suffering to me? Disruption. It's something that doesn't harmonize, it's not congruent, it's disruption. Disruption of authenticity. Something is natural and authentic, why bother it at all? But even after this long, this wasn't my best video. I apologize. I've just been so. I would have been fine if I would have been able to just keep doing this. I got on such a momentum, finally figuring out a way to just express myself. And it's like disruption, interruption. It's like I could sit here, look at it, 1 hour and 47 minutes, like it's nothing. I could keep going. Yeah. I can move on to the next topic if I want to. With no problem at all. It's like that's what I've been wanting to do for the past few days. It's like everybody has a problem with content and performance and nonsense, and it's like I already got it all down as far as what I want from this side. As far as an audience and stuff like that and responses and how people take it, you know what? That's not on me. I'm not performing shit for anyone. What you see is what you get. What you hear is what I express. It is what it is for me as me, and that's all there is to it. Anybody else want to take it any other way? That's on all of you or whoever, not me. So I'll just be me and expressing from my being, my understanding, and not outsourcing memorized, not without outsourcing others' information that was memorized. Like how people always quote other people. It's like, well, what do you think? I'm always hearing, well, this person thinks that, this person thinks this. And it's like, again, just like the wife, she's always outsourcing this, outsourcing that. My mother thinks that this person thinks that. And it's like, not being rude, but the question arises within, like, do you think for yourself? Like, what do you think? I don't want to hear everybody else. How about you? And that's exactly what I'm giving here. No performance, not giving a shit. I don't care if every single person out there thinks I'm a freaking idiot. I still don't care. I'm not making it like... I am not embodying or continuing in negativity. I am being myself, expressing myself, and that is it. I'm not being negative, I'm just being honest as I am. I'm not attacking anybody, I'm not attacking anything, I'm just expressing from my being. I have no intentions of being negative, attacking and directing towards somebody or something, other than choices, examples, events, but never the person themselves, because I didn't create them. I don't, it's not my place to. The actions, the behavior, the concepts, the suffering, the disruptions, yeah. I could say anything I want on those and leave the person out of it and just speak on the suffering they inflicted, so to speak, to make an example. So, anybody that would say anything negative is simply introducing negativity and what comes from that. In this situation, say 10 people made a negative comment. Not constructive, not helpful, not open, just straight up negative, condemning bullshit. What value? What value is that? Is there any? No, it's just negative nonsense. It's worthless. It is worthless to be that way, although you call it trolling or just being a prick. It's pointless and worthless. It doesn't give anything. You're gonna water your grass with acid? It's the same thing, just disruptive. Have a nice day.